I got a board.
You got a board. Yeah, I hear you like to write and draw pictures.
I do.
Entertain. Thanks for doing it. Hey,
Some of them will be relevant.
Let me ask you. I just learned a very interesting factoid about you, which we'll have to get into. I don't know if we'll do this right now, but you on your very first time guest hosting Squawk Box, your first guest
Many years ago.
Your first guest was who?
The current president, Donald Trump.
Yeah, and so has that given you any special edge with him over the years?
No.
Yeah. So okay. So let me ask you about this. The EPA, largely at President Trump's direction, has now announced that it's rescinding these Obama-era rules and regulations on new coal plants. So new coal plants go thrive. So is Southern Company going to rush and build a bunch of new coal plants?
Well, look, we are on a trajectory to change the portfolio of generation in America. I mean, it goes way kind of beyond, I think, where Southern Company just is. We own these franchise utilities in the Southeast, but our competitive generation business has been all the way coast to coast, the Carolinas to California. At one time, we were the largest owner of solar in America. Maybe now we're third or so because we're pivoting to wind. We're going to fuel cells. We're going to a variety of other things. And here's the thing, and we probably should explore how that transition of the generation fleet is going to evolve. But there's another issue that I would want to draw later. Maybe we should do the first and do the second.
You said that I mean, one of the things I want you to get into is that you said by 2050 your generation fleet low to no carbon, which kind of shocked all your friends.
Well, look, I think probably all my predecessors at Southern Company, before I became chairman, now I'm in my 8th year, just about to complete my 8th year. We're about the size, a little bit smaller, but about the size from an energy production standpoint as the nation of Australia. We're a big company, okay? 70% of our energy came from coal. And now that number is like 26%. Gas was single digits, now it's about 50.
Right.
Renewables were 0, now it's about 10. And we're the last company standing in this wonderful country that is continuing to develop and build new nuclear. That is a national security imperative. And so we're continuing on that. Moreover, it's this kind of evolution of the model, this wonderful 100-year-old model that this nation has built because technology is evolving, because customers are requiring it. The whole idea of the age of big iron is starting to dissipate and go away. And what replaces it, I think to many in my industry, feels so threatening. And yet, my view is, as with almost any corporate strategy, is play offense relentlessly wherever you can. And our idea is not being able to keep the waves off the beach. How do we influence this new evolution of power generation, make, move, and sell? It's not just generation. It's not, don't think solar panels on my roof.
So how do you get
in front of it? Think about microgrids and storage and switchgear and everything else.
So what is the model, the business model that works, that gets you there in a real way? Is that what you're going to draw from?
That's what I was going to draw.
Yeah, I kind of suspected that. Yeah.
But first, let me the transition of where we're going to go to get to low to no carbon is really pretty cool. And that is, largely speaking, the age of coal generation is dissipating. I think anybody would say that's clear. If you look at our own energy, that's happening too.
Are you still on the Christmas card list at the White House when you say that?
As a matter of fact, I am, because there's a lot we can do. And I would argue the energy policy of this administration has actually been pretty good. Energy policy done right in America gives us almost an unassailable advantage in a worldwide competitive economy. You know, I also have a big role in the Fed, or at least that's winding up this year too. 3 years chair of the Atlanta Fed, chair of the Conference of Chairs at the big Fed, and I've really enjoyed my time at that institution. But if you marry the idea of the big economy with energy policy, holy smokes. When we think about the blessings of energy that this country has relative to China, relative to Europe, relative to any of our other competitors, if we do this right and well, we will sustain GDP growth, create jobs, grow personal incomes, and make American lives better for so many people. Now, when I say that, it isn't just kilowatts and economic impact. When I talk about the imperatives behind good energy policy in America today, It really goes with the rubric of clean, safe, reliable, affordable. And for the first time ever, we came out of the gate in our industry and said, oh, low to no carbon by 2050. How in the world are we going to do that? Well, there's a few things. One, you will see much bigger penetration in renewables. Now, here's somebody from the Southeast talking about renewables. Are you kidding me? And yet that's what you will see.
And how do you make it work on the affordable part? Because, I mean, you have, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think Southern has among the lowest
yes, we do.
socioeconomic
more than
base.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. You're talking about
there's a cost, and your customers
something like
can't afford just
46% of our customers make less than $40,000 a year.
right.
And you just can't foist social cost on those people.
Right.
These are people that day to day worry about making kitchen table economic decisions. Mm-hmm. How are we going to make, our food budget and our home budget and our education budget and our health budget work?
So what's the innovation model that your customers
So
can
here's
afford?
the thing. Here's the thing. That's why you got to play offense relentlessly. You've got to invest in research and development. Southern Company is the only company in our industry that still does robust proprietary research and development. Essentially the research and development co-op for our industry is called EPRI, Electric Power Research Institute. The former CEO of EPRI is now on my board, Dr. Stephen Specker. We're the biggest funder of EPRI. We really believe in inventing the future. And so the idea of R&D is to take ideas that today are out of the money and put the money in to make them in the money sometime in the future and actually create the solutions. And that's what we're doing. So it will be improved renewables. Solar and wind will be the workhorses there. It will be thinking about gas as a transition fuel into the future. We made a big bet.
Don't forget to draw pictures while you're...
Yeah, I will. But this is really something different. But making a big bet in natural gas. And we have to do that. Now, gas still has carbon. And so when I think about the transition, gas will get displaced with renewables and some other things. But we will need gas or some other quick start technology to follow the intermittency issues.
Nuclear?
Well, no. Intermittency meaning sometimes the wind blows, sometimes the sun shines, and what do you do if it doesn't?
But is nuclear part of the portfolio?
Nuclear must be part of the portfolio. Intense, big, carbon-free, reliable. The nuclear facility we're building in Georgia today will have a gas equivalent price of about $1 per million BTU. We talk about the miracle, the revolution of fracking and natural gas drilling in America today that has brought gas from, say, $13 per million BTU down to about $3. Oh, it bounces to $4. Oh, okay. Nuclear will be $1. And we'll have no emissions whatsoever. And we can manage the used fuel issues. Coal will dissipate. And so what goes in the middle of that? Even if you use gas to follow some of the intermittency issues, you must still develop carbon capture research. And so you've got to do something with the carbon atom. Southern Company runs the United States Carbon Capture Research Center. We run the International Carbon Capture Research Center. Even though that technology today is largely out of the money, we must find ways to improve and put it on a commercial scale. That is a big deal. What I'm describing to you right now are the issues related to what I call the age of big iron. It sounds kind of Greek, doesn't it? Well, anyway.
Sounds like Stalin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
So let me show you. This is what's changing, though. I'm right-handed. I got to get over here.
Okay.
Sorry, folks. I'll sit down here in a sec. So this is time. And here's where we are kind of today. And I'm going to put that. So that line right there is today. This right here is the age of big iron. Almost all of the energy that we consume as a nation today is driven by nuclear, coal, renewables, natural gas, big central station units. The economies of scale are enormous. It is so much better to have central station solar than it is to put it on your rooftop. All right? Like twice as effective on the average. Now, we're going to move that with technology innovation, but that is the reality today. Right here is, I'm going to use the word distributed infrastructure. Most of the public gets distributed generation. Oh, solar on my rooftop, got it. Or a fuel cell, or something. Distributed infrastructure expands the notion from just generation to the make, move, and sell essentials of this centuries-old business model. So that means microgrids. We bought a company in 2016 that is the largest, by far, by a magnitude, largest deployer of microgrids in the United States. We have proprietary switchgear. We have proprietary storage technology. Being able for customers to create on their own premises, largely right now in the industrial and commercial space, make, move, and sell, consume, within their complete control. That is where we are today. But what's happening is, my sense is the age of big iron will start to dissipate. And you'll see this technology imperative and customer requirements in the age of the digital economy completely change the picture. Central station power, the age of big iron, will persist, but it will diminish.
So, Tom, how about the age of big grid? So part of this, we're talking
That's
about
part of
infrastructure. So is big iron correlated with big grid?
Yes.
And that goes down to so that our notions of the survivability and resilience of the grid.
Here you go. Here you go. When I say big iron, I mean make, generate, move, so transmit, distribute, sell, consume. It depends on what side of the meter you're on, right? I sell, you consume. Same thing. That is all the age of big iron. But what's happening is, as that dissipates, something else will happen. And that is what I call distributed infrastructure. That is taking that model and putting it there. Essentially micro big iron. But we will make it so that you have complete control as a consumer to that very important infrastructure. Notice the age of big iron never goes away. It just diminishes. As a CEO of one of the most successful companies in America, one of the largest in America, I'm right now making big-time investments in ideas which will attack our own business model. I call that with our employees and in our industry, creative destruction. Look, I think this is happening. I don't know how fast that will happen. So what I'm doing is making essentially option-based strategy investments in things like power security, things like Bloom Technologies, and things like, in order to, if this thing starts to happen, I can influence it. I can create the playing field.
Just real short form, I mean, this sounds, I can feel the tension in what you're trying to do. What are the things that are driving you hard on this, given this era of deregulation we're in? Which is taking the
Well, it's not
heat
deregulation, Steve.
But I mean, I'm saying deregulation. To a certain degree, you don't have to do this stuff. You can coast on what you've been doing for a while, given our environment, right?
And that is it. Look, if you look at business history, one of the greatest harbingers of future failure is past success. There is no imperative to innovate. Look how good I am. I love drawing another one. Let me draw you one more. So here is a pie chart of all the employees at Southern Company. And I would argue most of the people at Southern Company, and look at the metrics, I'm not proselytizing or whatever, they are damn good at making, moving, and selling. They are terrific. Look at our operating metrics. We have the highest levels of reliability. We have the most stable fleet. We have the most whatever. Highest levels of customer satisfaction. In fact, one year, fairly recently, we were number 2 among all companies next to FedEx. Okay? I'm from New Jersey. You just don't see that there, you know?
You don't sound like you're from New Jersey.
But what you have here, these are the revolutionaries. And these people say to these people, why and why not? And what if? And as successful as these people are, they want to assassinate the revolutionaries, right? Get out of here. Look at what I did last year, you know? And so what we're trying to do is to essentially celebrate, to nurture, to grow the revolutionaries in the culture. One other thing. I knew about a year. I wish we had different colors. This is a little done. I knew about a year before it became public that I was going to be CEO, chairman of Southern. And I went to our corporate shrink and said, get me out of the 125 so officers at Southern, big company, now we're 32,000 people. I said, get me the top 25 innovators. And we do all this, you lay on the couch and do all this stuff about psychology analysis and things you're good at and things you're not, and you build teams that way. We're really into this stuff. And he sends me back this list, and I went, you got to be kidding me. That guy is an innovator? Are you kidding? He's a revolutionary? There's no way. And what people have done over the years is had adapted behavior. In order to fit in with these people, they pulled their horns in.
Yeah. Huh.
And, and so what we've got to do is somehow tap in and unleash, celebrate the revolutionary in us all. That's what's going to make us here. If you just play defense, you will follow that curve down. From a stockholder standpoint and everything else, I will not let that happen. We've got to play offense. And what I'd rather do, instead of just taking what happens, is influence it.
So let me, in our last couple of minutes, our time's running out, and I want to give the audience a chance with you too. I am interested in, this is fascinating to see the microgrids and how you begin looking at distributed infrastructure and a real revolutionary way to look at a different dimension of infrastructure. But part of the challenges we have today are just what we have today and how we make that work. And I know you and I have had many conversations in the past about some of the national security vulnerabilities that we have. And I just want you to give like a real short form snapshot on how vulnerable our current system really is. Nuclear plants, grid,
you bet,
to Chinese, Iranians, Russians, and how worried you are on a scale of 1 to 10.
So I help lead for the United States, what they call the ESCC, Electricity Subsector Coordinating Council. Homeland Security segments American commerce into 16 pieces. Electricity is one of them. I help lead that. I'm also central to helping put together what we now call the Tri-Sector Group, which is an alliance of electricity, finance, telecom.
Right.
And now we're working on that. Here's the thing. When we think about cyber and physical security, so I always think about those two things together. Don't ever separate those. Put them together. I am not particularly concerned, and I don't mean to sound cold here, that they steal your Social Security number. Of course I worry about that. But the base of concern for me is the existential threat.
Right.
It is the bad guy's ability to take down the grid or create a lack of confidence in the financial system or prevent us from talking or even worse, weaponizing information. And so we work together to make sure that doesn't happen. I would argue that the buzzword of the present should be and is evolving. Heard a little bit of this out of the congressman. Bruce Walker is here. It's the notion of taking away as our primary area of focus reliability, which means how the system operates under normal conditions, to a notion of resilience, which means how does your system operate under abnormal conditions, be it Hurricane Sandy, tornadoes, or a cyber attack. And so we are building within the context of our infrastructure all the notions of resilience that will make us better as a nation. My confidence is high.
In the future.
Today and in the future. Now, but when I say that,
you have a legacy
if you ask me the dumb question, well, is it possible?
Yeah.
Well, of course. Is it likely? No, absolutely not. The grid is so big, so complex, so whatever. But let me tell you, the bad guys are after us relentlessly. We get attacked, Southern.
Give them the numbers.
No, I don't want to give them the numbers. Millions of times a day. Okay? Millions. And that's really in the idea of some guy sitting in a nondescript office building in Beijing, China, banging away.
Right.
Whether it's Russia or Iran or North Korea or China. But when we go to the age of think about moving from, say, that model to the matrix, where now machines attack machines, and millions of times a day becomes trillions. And then you add on to that artificial intelligence, where they learn your defense, they learn their own attack in a machine sense, and we must have artificial intelligence to rebut the bad guys. That's the battlefield of the future, except it's happening today. Now, the United States, I can't speak in classified terms. I have deep classified clearance. The United States capability in this regard is fabulous. And the people in the three-letter agencies, I am always honored to call them patriots. They don't earn their value. The people in this regard in the United States are terrific, and you should thank them. Probably don't know who they are, though. They are terrific.
Well, I wanted to give you all a little dose of cynicism and optimism in the same moment here. But let me go to questions and comments here in the back. Yes, in the very back.
Thanks very much for giving us a glimpse of your corporate strategy. And I was wondering two questions about it. First is, and I'm talking about the distributed big iron strategy you were describing. The first is, what is to prevent your suppliers from leapfrogging you and going directly to the end user? In other words, if I'm a big customer, why do I need you as a middleman? Why can't I go to the manufacturer and accomplish the same thing? And secondly, who do you see as your principal competitors in the distributed big iron space?
So there have been, look, so this guy right here has thousands and thousands of vendors. When you think about who would essentially preempt, step in the middle of our, disintermediate, I guess is the word, our relationship with our customer, be one of these big information companies, but they still need the stuff. Distributed infrastructure, to me, is still the stuff necessary to generate electricity or to move it within your enterprise or to help you consume it in a smarter way, okay? That is a much more complicated kind of undertaking than just having Google have some important relationship inside your house. We used to think it was, what are the Nest thermostats? We thought we could grow, and we have a relationship with Nest. And the idea would be, oh, your Nest does the HVAC in a really smart way. Well, let's put the power inside of it to make it the server for the home and run all of your smart appliances. When you think about a commercial and industrial enterprise, it is a big undertaking. My sense is if we go into Olin Chemical wants to be great at making chemicals. If we can take away from them the worry of clean, safe, reliable, affordable energy, well, they're happy to let us do it and let them focus on chemicals. This is not something that anybody can step into. This is a very tough, complex thing. We're the best people to do it.
And who is your biggest competitor in
It's
this arena?
gonna be somebody. Distributed infrastructure, we see so many people jumping in and out of this thing. I don't see a single competitor. It would be some alliance, but you've just seen Johnson Controls sell their kind of business in this regard to private equity, for heaven's sakes. Google has made an effort to get into this space, but it was to control. The idea, the theory is really interesting. The theory of how you and what you consume energy on is worth more than perhaps the energy itself. If I can understand that your refrigerator is about ready to die, what's that worth to people that sell refrigerators? Or if I can, and so the information has a tremendous amount of value. Now, how much do you want public, it's a great conversation these days, of your energy patterns? Do you want to sell that to anybody that will come in? And how do you know what's going to be done with that? They could also estimate what your personal income is and what you're spending. I mean, there's a tremendous wealth of information here. We believe customers own that information. That's why you've never seen us get in the idea of being an information merchant.
Tom, just as we close up, we've had, I interviewed the mayor of Baltimore here this morning. We've had a lot of fascinating entrepreneurs, perspectives, people thinking about, the future of infrastructure. And I just sense your, palpable enthusiasm here. And I just want to say, when you want to talk to mayors, or you want to talk to the CEO of EVgo, you talk to the ecosystem of infrastructure innovation out there that is not necessarily in your area, what are the things that you can advise, given your experience, that they most need to get right?
Resilience. Okay, Atlanta's getting ready to host the Super Bowl. I'm probably knock on wood or whatever I can. We don't want the power to go out during the Super Bowl. So I can assure you, when you think about the responsibility at the end of the day, of the United States, it is to protect its citizens and our way of life and our ability to enact capitalism in a fair way. Energy policy is central to that. The most important thing we can do is keep the lights on. That is the most important thing I talk to mayors and other state people and people on the Hill about. That is job one. Yeah, we'll work on all this other stuff, but boy, if the lights go out, I don't care how affordable it is, right? We gotta keep the lights on. Resilience is the most important thing we can do. And in this area of ever increasing threats to our way of life by bad people, we have to make that job one.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Fanning, CEO of Southern Company. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Good to see you
Always
man.
good
Good
being
to
with
be
you.
with you, man.